I want to conclude with, I could go into more detail. I'll just simply say, beware accountability that is a mockery of accountability. And that is transparency without anything that follows it. And Doretta Wilson has posted on her blog a very good point. Transparency is the first step to accountability. What we've got now is a system that believes in openness, transparency, and fairness, which means don't test too heavily, and whatever you do, get everybody through. So we have to shift it from the openness, transparency, and accountability. There's something missing on the road to accountability. I'll give you 3 things that give me hope, because I want to give you some hope here. Number 1, the Alberta curriculum is still the best. Alberta outperforms every other province, and it's the only province that says school choice is a key priority in Alberta education. If you could only get that in the top 3 in Ontario education, everything would change. But it isn't. And school choice since the 1990s in Alberta hasn't worked out as well as we would like, because the legislation, the charter school legislation, is very restrictive. You have to renew your charter once every 5 years. You're not invited to any professional development meetings. You're not integrated into the school system. Get this, you get public funding, but you're never invited to any professional gathering with people, the other people who get public funding. You are a pariah in Alberta, believe it or not, if you talk to someone. So the parents and the association for the charter schools, they demanded changes, and there's a new report that's just out saying that they're going to insist on more integration, more lessons, more collaboration between the charter schools, and to clear away the remaining structural hurdles. You ask yourself, with the demands for each of those 15 charter schools, why are there only 15? When they're oversubscribed. Why? Because the structure is such that there's no way they're going to let that be a free flowing choice system. So even in Alberta, there are things to do. Sunshine on Schools gives me a lot of hope, and because the Society for Quality Education has taken this on, I'm going to give it another plug. I think it's one of the finest things I've seen come out of the Society, and that is because transparency is the first step to accountability, and the school boards being ranked and assessed on the 40-odd criteria is tremendous. For example, preparing for today, I did a little exercise. I went through the Society for Quality Education system, and I picked the 5 criteria. I picked 5 school boards, and I picked the ones that are the most important. Per pupil costs, grade 10 literacy, grade 3 reading, pick 4 or 5 things, and see where the boards fall, and you'll be shocked. You know, to me, it's amazing that the boards spend per pupil in this province between $9,900, Waterloo, I wonder why, Malkin, I wonder why, to $26,000 per student in 2009. Look at that range. That's amazing. Grade 10 literacy, there have been some significant improvements, but there's still alarming numbers of students after all of this that still are not able to achieve. Grade 3 reading, of course, obviously we know there are flaws in the teaching of early reading instruction. But I would say to you that the most revealing thing and the power you have with your organization is to use that tool more effectively to get the message out. I'll conclude with one last thing, because I've been involved in a movement to start Students First Nova Scotia. The Students First movement, which started in the United States, has moved into Canada. And I want to give you a suggestion. I think you should rethink your focus and orient it more to students. And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. I think, not that Michelle Rhee is right, because I think she's made a lot of mistakes, and I think she could actually hurt you if you linked with her. But I think that you could learn an awful lot from just look at the principles of Students First Nova Scotia, for example. These are the 5 things that we as a group said were important. Put students first in everything for a change, not adults in the system. We didn't say unions. People know what we mean. Empower parents. You've got school advisory councils. Why have you neutered them? Elevate teaching. Let's talk about how we can improve teaching. If it's 33% of student achievement is determined by who's your teacher, why is that the one thing we never discuss? I think that's got to be on there. Raise standards, and don't accept that because this percentage has level 3 or higher, that that's excellence, because it probably isn't. And last and relevant is spend wisely. And I'm going to argue that you should start with putting students first and you should end with spending wisely, because you will gain a wider constituency and just make good on that commitment to spend wisely. So where can we find the building blocks for 21st century accountability? I'll give you my 3 points in bullet form. 1, embrace school choice and seek to provide choice within the public education system and never deviate from that. Don't get trapped into other variations, because that is ultimately a winning formula. Expand sunshine on schools and push for accountability shortfalls, and insist on some consequences for a lack of school or board performance. And start talking about the consequences for chronic underperformance. And don't say failing schools. That's the American rhetoric. Say chronic underperformance. And it's all a matter of the language you use. And last point is put students first, but I'm going to argue that you shouldn't lead with accountability. I'm going to say you should end with accountability. Start with students and end with accountability. You may have had it wrong. We've had it wrong. We were so concerned about getting accountability that we kept fighting for accountability and testing and everything else. It allowed people to paint us as we didn't care about students. Wrong. We care deeply about them. We want them to be educated to a higher standard, and we want them to succeed in life. What is more important? So seize the higher ground. Make its improved standards, teacher quality, and support for the most vulnerable in the system. That's a winning formula. Thank you.